Hello, and welcome to Association Transformation, our not so new ongoing conversation that advances the impact and evolution of nonprofit organizations. I am so excited this morning to have two amazing women in the association space, but I'll first note that my colleague, my co-host, Mr. Andrew Chamberlain, is not with us today. Still a bit under the weather, so sad he'll miss this, but we'll make sure he downloads the podcast. And we wish you well, Andrew, and hope everyone at the Consort Strategies team is doing well in your absence. So I'm your sole host this morning, Lisa Pratt with Brewer Pratt Strategy. I got to start all over. I said my own company wrong.
It sounded good. I wouldn't know.
I was on a roll until I messed up my own company. Oh, goodness. All right. Hello, and welcome to Association Transformation, our not so new podcast advancing the impact and evolution of nonprofit organizations. I am so excited to have two amazing women in the association space with us this morning, but sadly, my co-host, Mr. Andrew Chamberlain, is under the weather and won't be able to join us, but we will power on in his absence, and I wish everyone at the Consort Strategies team the best in his absence. He'll be back soon. And I am Elisa Pratt with Brewer Pratt Solutions, and excited to kick off this conversation of disruption and collaboration. I think these last 14 months, we've all had some important lessons learned, and some key skill sets have risen to the top. And especially now looking back on it, we can see that those who have not just survived, but strived in these uncertain times have learned how to leverage disruption to build that network of support. Whatever that means in your industry, that network of support has been more important than ever these last 12 to 14 months. So let me welcome our guests and we can jump right in. I'm excited to have with us Carmen Elliott, the Vice President of the American Physical Therapy Association. Carmen, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa.
And Dana Aragon, a longtime friend from the state of New Mexico. She is currently the Workforce Development Director at the Associated General Contractors of New Mexico. And I'm so excited to have Dana. We studied for the CAE together more years back than I would like to admit for either of us, but we go way back, and I'm so excited to finally have you on the podcast, especially in a topic that is so perfectly suited to not only what you bring to the AGC, but what you've been so strong in your broader career. And Carmen, I mean, with the American Physical Therapy Association, 100,000 members. You guys must have mastered building networks of support, not only internally, but externally. And especially during these times, you guys both represent essential industries and professions of frontline workers with construction and physical therapy. Your members have had no rest these last 12 to 14 months, and I'm assuming that's carried over to the staff. How have collaborations and partnerships, both internal and external, been a value to you during these crazy times? And maybe I'll start with Carmen, just because I'm so curious to hear what a group of like the physical therapists have been doing.
Yeah, Elisa, so I would say definitely the first thing that we did once we pivoted so quickly, right, is we created online communities for our physical therapists to stay in touch with one another. And this allowed them to continue with their communication efforts, really to share best practices when it came to serving patients in a virtual world. We transitioned to telehealth services. This is something physical therapy typically do not do a lot of, because physical therapy is such a hands-on profession.
Right.
So with that said, yeah, they had to transition to provide services virtually. And as an association, it was our role to provide resources on how they could transition to a virtual world. So we created online communities for our members to really indulge in and get best practices and ask questions. And we created checklists and template letters and resources for them to have a better understanding of how to treat their patients in this virtual environment.
I love this. This is such a perfect example of the opportunity that the pandemic provided for an association, for a membership organization to be more valuable, to be more necessary in times of need. I mean, this is, thank you so much for those examples, and, you know, internally being the go-to for your members when they didn't have anywhere else to turn or didn't know what else to do. I mean, I'm hoping this eliminates the question of what's the value of membership forever, because you've gotten them through these crazy times. Now, you know, Dana, you guys don't have the benefit of teleconstruction, so it's maybe the only other industry as hands-on as physical therapy is construction. But what have you know? Since we're talking internally first, what internal engagements, collaborations, and connections have you been able to offer your members over these last 12 to 14 months?
So what we've become, and it reminds me of probably what associations were originally intended for. Associations are the place where you can get the most up-to-date information that has the most to do with what your association or your workers are doing. So what we became was a clearinghouse for information. This group of people is not familiar with healthcare. So what we became is a way for us to digest information and to give it back out to our members to let them know how it applies to them, what they need to do right now, and what the most important information is. Because my goodness, there's so much stuff coming at you from every angle, and it's just really difficult to digest it and figure out, well, what does this mean to me? And so that was kind of like what we became here. And then what that did was it really opened a lot of doors for our members to connect with each other. Another element that we deal with as well, and I know in the hospitals they do as well, is OSHA. And so OSHA was issuing a lot of different information as well, and to try to figure out, well, what should we follow from CDC? What should we follow from OSHA? How does this apply to us? So we really became a hub, more or less, for people to kind of understand and digest information.
Well, you know, everyone talks about, you know, we're competing with Google, where this is the time where you want to be the anti-Google. Instead of just aggregating everything, this was your opportunity to filter, to prioritize, to sort through and give your members just the most relevant. And I think that's, you know, hopefully this is something that associations, now that the members have these raised expectations, this is something that associations are going to be able to continue to do. I wonder what it looked like externally. Did COVID provide your organizations an opportunity to engage or partner or reach out to stakeholders in your space and collaborate to do things together? What did external outreach look like these last 12 to 14 months? Carmen?
Yeah, it allowed a plethora of opportunities, right? So we collaborated with our sister organizations, the American Occupational Therapy Association, the American Speech Hearing Association, and worked very closely because, again, we serve perhaps the same type of patients and very similar services, and allowed an opportunity for us to partner with them and to, again, reevaluate our resources. Who else should we reach out to? For example, there was a time when we were looking at a 9% cut from Medicare to therapy services during the pandemic. And, you know, we did a survey of our membership. About 50% of our members were impacted by the pandemic. And on top of that, a 9% cut. So with that, we partnered with AOTA and ASHA to rally our members to send letters to Medicare and Medicaid services about, you can't do this, not during a time of pandemic. So it really allowed an opportunity for us to take a better look at some of our external stakeholder relationships and how we really coalesce together to make an impact during this time of disruption.
Urgency makes for important allies. Are these relationships that you believe will carry on post-pandemic now that you've had this experience together? I mean, has this fortified these alliances moving forward?
It really has. So with that said, I don't think I actually put
Don't jinx it.
period a period on the end of that advocacy work that we did, but we actually preempted that 9% cut because of that coalition that we created. And we anticipate, of course, this will be ongoing, right? So there are other issues that we need to address as an association that we can better utilize other stakeholders to assist us with our efforts. And there's leverage in numbers, right? And we really figured that out, even though we're a large association, but it allowed for an opportunity for us to partner with others to make an impact, especially during a time like this when others are really suffering and just needed those services. And, you know, we wanted to be sure that patients still were able to access very important services to their healthcare.
Well, and I think it's so interesting, you know, having the two perspectives here. You know, you're a national organization, you know, with Dana coming from the state and regional side. You know, when I first think of partnerships for Dana, you know, did your national entity help you? Were they there to provide you resources? I mean, that's who I would call first. If I'm a chapter or regional affiliate, you know, you call the mothership. Help
Absolutely.
me, you know, what can we do? How did that go for you in this, like
So
I said, these uncertain
and
times?
I'm new to this role, so I'll kind of preface where I've been and where I am now. I was at a national association for 15 years, and so I know what goes on at that level. So this is my first experience at a local association, and I have to say, now the national association did step up quite a bit. From what I can tell, they've opened a lot more doors in terms of collaboration with different chapters to be able to let us kind of talk back and forth. Hey, this worked for me. What are you guys doing? And so that really helped. They've also kind of been able to help us distill information as well. Now, on the coalition building side, which I feel like these are the tenets of associations. Why do you go to associations? You go to associations for great information that impacts you directly, to network with people and to build a coalition because there's strength in numbers. And so it kind of feels like we're circling back to where associations began. It's really been a movement that I've enjoyed because I think for a little while we all got kind of focused on, well, what can we do? What's the next? What's the new shiny object? And now we're just getting back to the root of what we're all here for and what we care about, which is helping people, helping our members do their jobs better and being able to connect with people. And so, you know, that's one of my favorite things about working in associations is that connection with other people and being able to see that you've made an impact, a positive impact in a way on someone, you know, whether that's helping them figure out where do I go for my immunization. Some of our members asked us that, and we were able to connect them there. We even started working with the Restaurant Association because that had spilled over into our area as well. There was a lot of movement on the city council was looking for ways to be able to incorporate some of what was going on in the protective equipment arena to make sure that people had what they needed. So there were a lot of different entities that we kind of gelled together with and built a coalition with so that we could help. And they're not in our industry, but they're everyone that has something to do with building or supporting or providing services for the people of New Mexico. So I think that was really invigorating. It felt like everyone is coming together as a team, and I'm hoping that that keeps moving forward. That momentum is still there.
You know, some of those unique engagements and relationships that were spawned during these last months. I wonder what other strange bedfellows were discovered. You know, restaurants and construction doesn't sound too far apart, but whether it's workforce related or health and safety, were there any other examples of some unique, or maybe partnerships you've been hoping for a long time, and this was just the excuse to reach out? Carmen, did you guys have an opportunity to reach out beyond medicine at any point, or beyond the healthcare scope for any new networks or new partnerships?
Yeah, actually we did. We partnered with, for example, ASAE, which we all know, the Associations for Associations, really looking at how we better position our members to ensure that they have access to a lot of the funding that was available to ensure that their businesses continue on. And we also partnered with a few others, associations as well, not only because of within the medical realm, of course, but how we ensure that uh, at the end of the day, I mean, our physical therapists are consumers too, right? So they are impacted by COVID as well. So we wanted to be sure that they were protected. So we partnered with others to ensure that they had the necessary information, resources, access to information to ensure as a frontline essential worker, they had access to the COVID vaccine, right? They know when these opportunities arise, also how they administer the COVID vaccine. So that's something that they do too, even though they are physical therapists and tend to work hands-on, but they also function in the capacity of being able to administer the COVID vaccine. So we wanted to be sure that they had access to those resources. So we partnered with other entities that actually shared with us information, resources that we could share with our membership to ensure that they had what they needed to be able to function in their space, not only in treating patients, but also functioning as an everyday citizen, everyday consumer of care services as well.
Now, were those then tools and resources you were able to share down your chapter chain? I mean, you guys have 50 plus chapters yourself. Was that something you were able to extrapolate, and provide?
Definitely, yeah. So as you know, every state is different, so every chapter is different. So yeah, so we shared information, got the information out, and it was really our role just to have the resources and the information available and disseminate that information. It was really up to the chapters on how they want to utilize that information. But feedback was they were so elated that we were able to give them information, especially our smaller chapters that didn't have the resources, whether human or financial, to be able to really provide that information to their individual chapter members. So they really looked to us to assist and help and provide a lot of good information that they could in turn disseminate to their smaller chapter members as well.
Well, what I hear you both saying is that information really is the new currency. And the most up to date, the most relevant, and really the most targeted to your specific members and even their individual niches within your industry, being the someone used the word hub, the hub and the clearinghouse for this information. I mean, this really sets a new precedent for what the value of membership looks like. And I truly believe that the expectations of members have now increased. There's a new bar has been set for those high performing organizations who have been able to serve their members in this way.
Elisa, if I could just add on one other point too that I think is really important. When we decided to pivot and bring folks back into the office, right? Great opportunity to partner with SHRM, the Society of Human Resources Management, or look into these other societies or associations that really laid out best practices on how to bring people back into the office or even work remotely. So even with that, we were able to get that information and share it with our affiliates too, because again, they didn't necessarily know what was the first step I need to take to ensure that my employees, my staffers are safe. What do I need to do to ensure that when we do open our doors and allow workers to come back into the office, what should we do? So again, great opportunity to partner with entities that are typically outside of your circle, but allow for great opportunities to get the information and share that information to our affiliates, to our chapter members.
Yeah. I love that. And I really love the humility of that. Hey, we're not experts in this space. We respect your expertise, SHRM or ASAE or whomever else. We're not going to recreate the wheel. We're going to ask for help. We're going to go to the best of the best in theirs, and we're going to take that information and help our members target it and apply it. Exactly. I love that. I mean, copy, paste, and borrow, and go to the people who are experts in their field. And with this idea of information as the new currency, I think seeking it, filtering it, prioritizing, but really helping your members internalize it and put it to work. And someone mentioned the financial resources. I mean, every member of every association is a human first, a consumer, a person. And so there's been so many aspects of this that even stretch beyond the profession or the industry or whatever it may be that we serve these members in. And Dana, I know construction, I mean, between regulatory and safety and OSHA and all of it, I mean, there's so much. And then you put COVID on top of that. Your members were knocking on your door, they were getting what they needed. What does this now look like moving forward? How can you maintain a level of, how can you remain the hub? How can you remain that hub moving forward?
Absolutely. So the people in the construction industry, it looked like to us, the people that were reaching out for the most information were their human resources departments, because they wanted to know, again, how to implement all these different policies that were coming out, make sure that they were in compliance. And then on the other side, the OSHA piece ended up falling to the safety professionals. So we have safety professional meetings a lot. They get on the spot updates about what is the latest, how to report information. There are all kinds of different ways to report the information, and you want to make sure that you're following whatever that protocol is. So moving forward, I don't think that's going to fall off. I think safety is going to become, it always has been paramount for both industries. Healthcare is a big safety place as well, but construction, certainly want to make sure that they're doing the best that they can so that they can remain on the job and continue to be essential without, causing any additional issues in terms of what's going on with handling of the pandemic. But one of the other things that I thought was the most interesting about this moment is it's a scary moment in time, but people had all of these really personal stories to share. And I don't think at this point there are many people that have not been touched by what happened during COVID, whether they were sick themselves or had a friend or family member. And unfortunately, people have passed on. And so that's another piece of the humility and the empathy that I think associations can really help with as well. What can we do to help support you through this really troubling time? And how can we be a partner for you? And what can we do to help? So I really felt that it really feels like a nice moment to this very scary situation that we've all been in for quite some time now.
Yeah, Carmen, please.
Yeah, and to Dana's point, we have 150 staff, right? So we learned that some people actually lost very close family members or friends during this pandemic. And with that said, we actually really pushed out information about our employee assistant program and how you could access that information. We also had listening sessions for our staff and just being able to kind of talk through some things and help them understand that we, as your employer, we are here for you. If you need time off, please take time off. I know you're working remotely, but at the same time, you need a break. And we really wanted our staff to understand that we care. We are empathetic to what they're experiencing, because this has really been a traumatic time for a number of people. And we really didn't realize how much COVID impacted quite a few of our employees until we were going through this. And then people became a little more verbal about how this has impacted them and their family. So with that said, we just always made sure that they had access to resources like EAP and also listening sessions to really hear from people. Some of the parents, to bring another point, some of the parents were like, I'm trying to work in homeschool at the same time. So we had listening sessions for parents. What works for you? We understand if you're not able to get online till maybe 12 o'clock noon when your child's having lunch or something. So we allowed those sessions to happen so we could better understand what people's needs are and how we could best assist them.
Yeah, we need to do a podcast on that, but it will have to be a happy hour. It will have to involve some therapeutic alcohol. Oh, goodness. Yes, I've already yelled at my son twice. Quiet, I'm podcasting. Be quiet down there. No, it's amazing, I think, how human we've become to each other.
Yeah.
And really the opportunity to increase the organization's relevance internally with staff, with members, and in these external partnerships. And so much of this was done, I don't want to say reaction, because in a reactionary way, as if that was bad. It's just how it happened. How has what we've learned changed how our organizations are looking to evolve moving forward? Is everyone still just pivoting and reacting and we're all kind of still treading water? Or have we survived enough and gained enough confidence to take that deep breath and think, what's next? What are we going to provide next? How are we going to become and stay valuable to our members and staff next? What does that look like for Dana?
I think people are, everyone's been, has given everyone a lot of grace. Let's try this out. Let's see if this works. And let's see what sticks right now, because we're all in such a different place. So I think what's going to happen during this phase is, I'll call it the sifter phase. Do you remember those flour sifters? You might not, you're too young. Like you squeeze the handle and the flour comes out. So I think whatever sifts out is going to be what sticks. And maybe it's that we don't bring people in for face-to-face meetings as often as we used to. And, we do Zooms, and I know people have Zoom fatigue, but is there value in that still? And is meeting face-to-face something that's going to be there, but we'll have to use it more sparingly? Maybe it's just for certain things. And then what do conferences look like, moving forward? I think everyone's trying to figure that piece out as well, because like right now we're trying to plan for things in the fall, right? We have this idea that we think we'll be able to get together, but we really, really don't know. So everything is still tentative right now. But I do think that if we listen carefully to what our members are saying is of value to them and really focus on what they need, that we will be positioned very well to move forward to the next chapter.
Right. There are silver linings that should become permanent. There are maybe accidental successes that we should make part of the ongoing fabric of member engagement. This was a time of experimentation that no one planned for, no one wanted, and yet we have a lot of data from this. We have a lot of experience from this. And member reaction that could and should shape nonprofits moving forward. What, Carmen, as you guys looking back at these last 12 to 14 months and evaluating those silver linings, what's worked, what are you guys considering keeping? What's going to change you forever?
Yeah, great question. So I think for us, we're looking at membership models. So to Dana's point, we looked at our conferences, right? And our largest conferences bring in over 17,000 physical therapists. When we moved it to virtual, we saw where there were so many members who said, I've finally been able to attend this conference. I never attended in the past. Exactly. So we know that's probably going to stay from here on out, some type of hybrid conference. But it also allowed us the opportunity to look at membership models. Because if anything, what we did see is since so many members of our association were impacted, that membership seemed to drop off a bit. So it gave us the opportunity to reevaluate our membership model to make it easier for our members to pay their membership dues. And, maybe our traditional way of how we used to do our membership needs to change. And that is something that with this allowed us to do that. And we anticipate now we can make a greater impact in our membership to get more physical therapists within the association. There are a lot of physical therapists out there. We only cover 30% of the market. We don't have all of our physical therapists as a member of APTA, and we are the only association for physical therapists. But with that said, we want to be sure that we reevaluate how we are demonstrating that membership value, right? And one way to do that is how we make it easier for potential members to become members. We want to make our membership model easy. We want to make becoming a member of APTA easy, and that is something that we're currently in the process of evaluating.
Now, when you talk about the prospective market, those who used to be members or are potential members, I know I have 2 clients who use this window of time not to sell membership, but to simply do outreach and ask, how are you doing? We're not trying to sell you anything. We just want to do a personal outreach and really just a mental health check, a career check. What can we do to be of service? And you never want that to look self-serving, for the organization's benefit. But this last year has been a chance to simply reach out to those who may not be familiar with your organization and just say, are you okay? Can we give you a hand? And so many organizations, and I know, Carmen, you and your staff have done the same, with the outreach and just, both internally with staff and with members, how are you? This doesn't have to be issue driven. It doesn't have to be advocacy driven. It doesn't have to be sales driven. Just how you doing?
Yeah.
You know,
And to that point, Elisa, and that's what we've done. I mean, every single staff member within APTA have dedicated time to directly reach out to your point, to potential members or members who allow their membership to lapse, and reach out to them and just have a direct one-on-one conversation and how we can make this easy for you. How can we make this better for you in being a member of APTA? And we finding that one-on-one direct contact, direct outreach is really making a huge impact. And people just want to talk. I find that right now, folks just want to talk, and it's okay. I mean, we have people in our advocacy department who are directly reaching out to members, and we're just not leaving this to our membership department. Every single person within APTA staff, it has a metric to meet in order to reach out to members, potential members.
Yeah. The more we're driven virtual, the more we thrive and thrive as humans talking to each other. And the more human and personal it needs to become, the more we're left with only online options. And I know, I think construction, it's such a handshake industry. And you guys have had to get so much better at being online and giving that information. Will you go back to all in person because that's how the members have been before, or will you too try to strike a hybrid engagement strategy, Dana, in New Mexico?
So right now, we've been fortunate because I think New Mexico's governor did a good job of keeping things kind of. She was very restrictive, and I know it was difficult and it was hard at some points, but now, the light at the end of the tunnel is coming. And so we're actually going to do an in-person event at the end of this month. So,
oh, wow.
It's, separated out, but it's an event. And so it's exciting, and the members are excited. And so I think there always will be an element where we're together, but we're going to continue to offer, like we've been offering classes, professional development classes we call it hybrid, but it's online. And then also there is a presenter in the room. We're doing it through Zoom, and people are attending their face-to-face, and, of course, following all the rules. But that's been popular as well, and not something that I think that they had done here before. So that's been a shift, and I'm hoping that that's something that we're able to continue to do as well. Because we service, even though, we're just the state, but our state is pretty big, and you have to drive quite a little ways to get to the different parts. So I'm hoping that the virtual piece is something that continues. I do think that there is a lot of value in face-to-face. I mean, there always is. The beauty, though, of our industry is that they get to see a lot of people from different companies all together on one job site. So I think that helps them in terms of keeping their connectivity together there. But when they're with us, it's a different conversation. Like, it's a higher level conversation, and it's more about the collective than it is about the individual businesses. So I think it's probably going to continue to be a hybrid for a while, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, from external collaborations to the amplification of information and relevance to the members, to that support network for staff, connecting members to each other and giving them this, I think raising the engagement network they already had, but maybe had taken for granted for so many years. It's really special, I think, to see what high-performing associations have done to leverage disruption for the benefit of the members, to give greater value. And I think that new currency that we know information to be, and the engagement of the members with each other and the organization in a new and likely hybrid way is pretty important. And I hope these are conversations that all organizations are having. What's worked, what hasn't, what can we internalize? Maybe to your point, Carmen, who can we go to outside of ourselves that may be experts who can share with us policies or practices that may help get us to where we need to be? There's just been so much learning these last 14 months. It's amazing. I really see this as a historic shift forward for the association and nonprofit industry. The fast tracking of change and the adoption of innovations that likely would have taken many organizations, 5-10 years to get to a place like this. It's really special, and I'm so thankful to both of you for sharing your experiences and your lessons learned. You guys are organizations to be followed, and I hope we have the opportunity to check back in with you in the coming months and years to see how well some of these things have stuck, and how they've become part of your new normal. So thank you so much, Carmen. Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry Andrew missed this. I'll bring him up to speed. Don't worry. And we hope to have you both back at some time. So thank you so much. And thank you to all our listeners for joining us today. If you have a subject that you'd like us to explore, you'd like to join us on the Association Transformation podcast, you can tweet us at Association Transformation or email us at hello@yourconsort.com, and we will draw upon our network of association experts and nonprofit staff like these two amazing women to put together a podcast and a conversation worth listening to. You can find Association Transformation anywhere you get your podcasts, so make us one of your favorites. And until next time, we say stay well and put your members and your mission first.
Association Transformation is brought to you in partnership between Consort Strategy and Brewer Pratt Solutions in support of the Institute of Association Leadership.